Hey guys, Matt Bernier here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to recreate my Tave lead importer, where I can simply forward any new lead from my email to a specific address, and it'll get imported into my Tave account automatically with all the necessary fields assigned. Now, before we get started, you're going to need three things. You're going to need a make.com account, of course, a Tave account, and you'll also need a Chat GPT subscription. Once you have all three of those things in place, you're ready to get started. First, open up your make.com account and create a new scenario. Now, the trigger that you're going to use is the custom mailhook step. So you can see here, mailhook versus webhook. Make sure you select mailhook. And once you add it, you're going to get this address here. You can copy that to the clipboard. Now, this is your forwarding address. So this is where you're going to send all those leads to. So in your email, you're probably going to want to create a contact for that address so that you can quickly reference it. In my case here, I've created a contact called Tave New Forwarding Lead. So I can simply type it in to my to sender and it'll always come up. So add a contact into your Gmail or whatever your email domain is that you use and use that address that you just created. Now you'll want to hit OK. I'm going to cancel this since I've already got my mailhook assigned. Now, the next step after that is this create JSON step, which you can access from the JSON bubble here. In this create JSON step, what I have done here is I've created a data structure of all of my possible event types from my Tave account. So in my Tave account, this is my job types. So check yours out. You may only have a few, but you'll want to enter all of your job types in here, one item at a time, using this just blank data structure. You can give it a name of whatever you'd like. Now, the next step is another JSON list, and this is where I list the cities that we operate in, which are custom fields called nearest location. And that's going to allow me to parse this data so that we can see where this event's actually taking place in, and I can assign the appropriate team members. If you don't have that, then you can skip this step. But if you do have any other kind of custom fields that you want to sort this data into, that would most likely be in an initial request from that client, you can go ahead and create a similar list here. Now, after that step, we're going to integrate the Chat GPT module. So go ahead and search for the Chat GPT or OpenAI module here. And we're going to do the transform text to structured data. Once you click on that bubble, I'll go ahead and open up the one I have here. You can see I'm currently connected. There's my OpenAI connection via the API. Now you'll need to obviously add yours first for the first time, and then it'll be listed here in the dropdown. So to do that, click add. You're going to see it's going to ask for the API key and organization ID. Click that little link there to be brought to your OpenAI account. Click create new secret key. You can give it a name, for instance, make.com, since we can actually use this for more than one automation. And we're going to do no restrictions, create key. Go ahead and copy that key into your API key here. And then we also need our organization ID. So let's click that link to see what that is. And it looks like it's this string here. So go ahead and copy that organization ID and paste it right in here. I'm going to close this since I already have a connection, but go ahead and hit OK to save that. Right now, I'm currently using the GPT-4 Turbo system for my processing engine. There's a lot you could choose from. I'd recommend using this one unless you have time to test others out. This is going to give you pretty stable results with the latest information over the API. Now, in the next step, I have the text to parse area. And you can see here, I'm parsing the text from my email using the subject line and the text body of that actual email. Now, you're not going to see these modules here on the right until you actually forward an email into that new address that you created and run this one time. So if you haven't done that already, I recommend saving where you're at currently, go to that email and go ahead and forward it. Just as is, you don't need to do anything special to it. Now, if you forwarded the email and you've waited a minute for it to go through, when you click run once, you should see this message here that there's unprocessed data in that webhook. Go ahead and click use existing data. and that's going to process through that automation. So now on our steps, we can reference the data from past bubbles. So when we go back into this Chat GPT module, we can now see the subject and the text for that email. So after the text to parse, I've added a prompt here that says, I need the original sender's first name, last name, email, cell phone, event date, location of the event type, and a summary or description of what they're asking for without missing any details. This is the total of what I'm looking to get out of this, and you'll see in just a second here how we actually sort it. So scrolling down, we have this structured data definition, and I'm assigning the data definition for the fields that I want to use later. For the first name, it's as you can see it here, and as the description, which I'm using to help ChatGPT figure out what I'm referring to by first name, even though it's somewhat obvious, I'm asking for the first name. Email is from. The data type is going to be text. And you can see here, if we keep going down, we have a data definition too. There's the last name email is from. We have the email address of original source sender, mobile phone, cell phone number of original source sender, event date, start date of event in question, or first date mentioned in a series in case there's multiple dates, internal notes, detailed summary of their message related to the content inside the email from original sender, event type. So here I'm telling ChatGPT to choose the closest exact event type from the value of examples that I provided in that previous JSON step, otherwise default to event if no matches. So the additional step here, after text for the data type, you can see value examples. I've mapped it to step 10, which is a list of event types that I have. So it's going to look through that list. As you can see here, here's all my event types. And it's going to determine which one based on that email most closely matches. And if there's no matches, it will default to event. Now after that, we have nearest city, and it's doing the same thing where it's choosing from a sorted list in step 12 here to pick the exact closest city match from that list. Now these parameters, nearest city and event type or others, are based on my custom fields. So this is how I'm naming it, but you'll see in the last step how we actually have to pass that data into Tave a slightly different way. So we'll go down, make sure we've covered everything here, and we can move on to the next step. This is just an additional step like the previous one, but it allows me to format a different set of data just to clean things up a bit. I found when I tried doing it all in one step, it would sometimes mix the data up. So this tends to help. So in this step, I'm asking to get a formatted list of all the customer's questions, and I'm checking the text body of that email. You can see I've got a parameter for question, and I say, give me a list of only the questions being asked. That way ChatGPT doesn't try to reinterpret something different. I don't want new questions. I just want to know what the customer's questions were so that I can address them. Now for this last step here, this is where we do that call to Tave to push that new lead data through. So it's an HTTP module. And if we open it up, you'll see it's a post request that we need to make. And the URL for this request can be found in your Tave Studio account by going to your settings and then API integrations, followed by legacy new lead API. You'll need to copy this endpoint URL you see here, paste it into this URL area, and then also copy this secret key, add a question mark at the end of your URL, and then enter secret key equals, and then paste your secret key in there. Again, make sure it's typed out exactly like you see, with secret S being capitalized and the K in key being capitalized. Now, if we scroll down for the body type of this request, we're just going to do application www form encoded. And here's where we have to assign those values. So as I mentioned, Tave is very specific about how you pass that data through. So we need to make sure that the key that we're passing is exactly what Tave wants. So back into our Tave API, new lead API here, if we scroll down, you can see the name of the string and what it corresponds to. So first name is first name, obviously. So we'll go in here and make sure that's listed the same. And then now I'm just assigning it to that Chat GPT step where I've asked it to figure out what the first name actually is. Same thing for last name, email, mobile phone, event date. And then now here's where the custom fields come in. So for this custom field here, this is step 6 questions. So I believe I wanted this going to internal notes. If we look at our Tave account, our custom field for internal notes is CF441905. So it's not actually called internal notes. It's got a custom code here. So that's what we'd want to copy for this field name. So going back in here, I'm not actually using internal notes. So what am I using for this one? Client job notes. So a slightly different field I had. So I've got that key in here and I've assigned it to the field that I want to use for that key. Same thing down here. This is my internal notes field. And you can see it's helpful to name them what you want or what's existing in Tave. It's just easier to line them up when you're in this step. Job type, I have my event type field. You can see here, and you can see what it's filled out based on that email. So it actually was able to find everything other than my last name, which I'm not passing through. Oh yeah, I am. So it didn't find my last name, but it did get everything else. So I've got the rest of my custom fields done and I can click OK. And that last step, the source value, this is the source of where it came from, the lead source. So I've just typed in email because that's what it wants to see there. So now once everything is in place, you can simply turn on the scheduling of this automation. And because this is a mail hook, it's going to run instantly as soon as you forward a new lead to that address. And that's all there is to it. Thanks so much for watching. And if you have any recommendations for future automations you'd like to see for your business, just let me know in the comments.